Prepare to have your health questions answered here on Safe, Effective Natural Solutions with Dr. Todd Binkley, owner of Binkley Healing Center in downtown Ventura. Now, here's Dr. Todd.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Todd Binkley, board-certified doctor of non-force chiropractic and practitioner of functional medicine. What is that? What is functional medicine? Well, that usually means using more tests than most doctors order to identify where normal function in your body isn't happening like it should. Instead of just waiting until you have a full-blown disease, which is really easy to diagnose with just a very short panel of blood tests. That's why most doctors only order. They're basically just screening to see if you have full-blown kidney disease or liver disease, or if you're almost ready to have a heart attack, or if you have an acute infection, etc. So identify all the places where your body actually needs some support, that if you give it that support, will help you get rid of the fatigue and the brain fog and the inability to lose weight and all the other things that no one else has been able to identify the specific cause for. It's never just one thing. It's a whole host of things that you're doing and not doing that make it very difficult for your body to heal itself. And so with a few more tests, we can identify a whole host of things that need a little support, that don't need drugs, don't need surgery, don't need any horrible things with side effects and misery associated with them or risks. Simple, natural things that you can do to make yourself healthier all day long, 24/7, 365. And that just doing that eliminates and reduces, attenuates all kinds of conditions. So we'll get into some of the specifics. Here's a great study. Part of this show, as always, is bringing you excellent research that you can use to bolster, maybe motivate you, hopefully, to do something. Some of the things I'm talking about, some of the things you've maybe already heard about. So here's a great one. Fish oil cuts the risk of serious heart events in dialysis patients. Well, it's always interesting to talk about fish oil, because if you Google fish oil, or especially if you don't Google fish oil, go to PubMed, go to the government website that's maintained by the National Institutes of Health, as long as they still have some funding, where all of the basic research that eventually becomes things that doctors recommend for you, all of that's available. Not all of it, much of it is available for free on their website. The actual name of the website is a complicated, long name. Everyone just calls it PubMed, and if you Google PubMed, you will end up on that site. And punch fish oil in there, and you'll see hundreds, thousands of studies about fish oil and its benefits. And you'll also see a bunch of them that poo-poo fish oil, poorly designed studies that don't really, they're so poorly designed that they're doomed to fail at the outset. But most doctors, even regular doctors that don't really know that much about nutrition, will say, oh yeah, it's good to eat fish, but we're not so sure about fish oil. Well, the beneficial part of fish, apart from the protein, is the oil. That's what the omega-3 fatty acids that are in that fish. So there are all kinds of studies that show, there have been for years, I don't know, maybe not thousands, hundreds at least of studies showing the major, and I've seen this in thousands of patients. My colleagues have seen this in tens of thousands of patients. Benefits for brain health, benefits for heart health. This is one of the top 3 supplements that I recommend. One of the nutrients that I recommend everyone actually take a supplement for, because no one gets enough omega-3 fatty acids in their diet. Well, I do. I take a fish oil supplement maybe 2 days a week, because 5 or 6 days a week, I eat a can of sardines or a serving of salmon or some other fish that is full of omega-3 fatty acids. I always recommend getting everything you can from food, but a lot of people don't like to eat fish out of a can. And going to a restaurant or preparing oily fish, a lot of fish is not. Most fish has some omega-3 fatty acids, but the ones that are high in omega-3s are not that many. Sardines, anchovies and sardines are what most fish oil supplements are made from. People like salmon. Salmon's great, but you're going to eat it every day. Tuna is a great source of omega-3 fatty acids, but I do not recommend eating tuna every day because it's full of mercury. Tuna is a large fish. Salmon is a relatively small fish. The larger the fish, the more mercury and other toxins are going to have built up in that fat over the lifespan of that huge fish. So the simple way is just to take a fish oil supplement. It costs you about $50 or $60 a month for a good one. Never buy cheap fish oil supplements. Don't buy fish oil supplements that are inexpensive from stores because, it must be the same. The label says the same words are on the label. No, they're not. They're not the same. You want to get, first of all, you want something that has about roughly 1,500 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA, eicosapentaenoic acid, that's EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, that's DHA. These are the active, health-benefiting omega-3 fatty acids that are in fish oil. Alpha-linoleic acid, which is in vegetable sources, so you can only get these things from the ocean. Alpha-linoleic acid is what is in walnuts and chia seeds and other vegetable sources. They're in grass that grass-fed beef gets. It's beneficial fat. Think of it like olive oil. It's a good fat to consume in your diet. But when you hear about all these amazing benefits of getting adequate omega-3s in your diet for heart health, brain health, reducing inflammation, joint health, etc., these are from EPA and DHA, and you can't get those from any plant-based sources in significant amounts. You need to get it from fish or algae. I wish the industry is making algae supplements now. The algae that grows in the ocean is an excellent source of EPA and especially DHA. It has more DHA than most fish, and they make biofuel out of it. So it ought to be inexpensive to get all of our fish oil supplements from algae instead of harvesting live fish, which would obviously be much better for those fish. The fish are not; these are not fish that are endangered. They're little tiny fish that are only been alive for a few weeks, few days, few weeks. That's why they're not full of toxins. And it is a sustainable resource. But I'm sure all the vegans, or if there are any vegans out there listening, you'd much prefer to get. And that's why I have available good, high-quality, quote-unquote, fish oil supplements, omega-3 fatty acid supplements from the ocean that are harvested from algae. But they're more expensive. They cost about 2.5 times for the same dose as taking fish oil. So here's a great study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, November. This just came out this month, November 2025. Those that received fish oil compared to those that didn't had a 43% lower risk of cardiovascular events. So over 3.5 years, patients randomized to a 4-gram dose daily of fish oil, 43% lower risk for serious cardiovascular events compared to those that received a placebo. This was reported by Dr. Charmaine Lok, University Health Network in Toronto. So 4 grams daily of fish oil, that's a high dose. That's more like 5 or 6 gels of fish oil. The minimum you want to think about just for general health is usually 2, the standard, pretty good sized inch-long gel caps of fish oil. And that's usually going to be about 1.5 grams of combined of the 2 omega-3 fatty acids you want, EPA and DHA. So to get 4 grams is going to be almost 3 times that, probably 5 or 6 gels a day. These are the doses that these people are taking. So, if you don't want to take that many gels, there are liquids available. Most of them taste terrible. There is one that's actually really good, Nordic Naturals. So I always say don't buy cheap fish oil. Get a top shelf brand. The ones I carry in my office that I recommend to my patients are Designs for Health and Orthomolecular Products, Metagenics, and Nordic Naturals. Sometimes I stock Nordic Naturals. I always order Nordic Naturals if someone wants a liquid. If they don't want to if they need a high dose for whatever reason, brain health issue, anxiety, depression, certain cancers, heart disease, anyone who needs a high dose of fish oil, doesn't want to eat a bunch of fish every day and just can't be bothered with the gels, then a liquid fish oil, there is one that actually doesn't taste that bad. I'm not going to say it tastes good because just the texture of the oil, some people don't mind it at all. A lot of people don't mind the liquid fish oils from a whole host of top shelf brands. I myself find them disgusting, but I've taken them for long periods of time just to get the high dose. When testing, you can test your blood levels of omega-3 fatty acids. And so when I was doing that and found out that mine was lower than I wanted, and that was before I started eating the fish every morning, the tinned fish, I was doing the liquid fish oil. And I like to test products just so I can tell someone, okay, no, this is disgusting. Don't even bother with that. But this is pretty good. The Nordic Naturals is nice because it's a top shelf brand that is available in many, many stores. If you want to get a really good top quality fish oil that is tested, that is from tiny little fish caught in cold waters off the coast of Norway and Chile that haven't lived long enough to accumulate any toxins in them and are tested to make sure that they're very, very low in toxins and give you the rich benefits of the omega-3s. That's how they make their fish oil. And you can get that in almost any health food store, Nordic Naturals fish oil. And they make a liquid that is lemon flavored, usually some other kind of flavor, and doesn't taste that bad. So it's an easy way to get a higher dose without a bunch of capsules, which may be the best way to achieve this 43% lower risk of serious cardiovascular events that this study is showing. 4-gram dose a day. That's probably 2 teaspoons. I used the Nordic Naturals when I was carrying it. I think it had 2,800, so almost 3 grams in a teaspoon. So maybe it's just a little over a teaspoon. You can get that dose if you want a way to get a relatively high dose without having to take gel caps. So this study, 4 grams a day, showed a 43% lower risk for all serious cardiovascular events. Risk of heart attack, 45% lower. Risk of peripheral artery disease. This is when people get clogged arteries, usually in their legs, the lower legs, leak, which can sometimes cause amputations, 43% lower risk. But here's the big one, stroke, 63% lower risk of stroke just by taking 4 grams of fish oil. So that's why I recommend everyone take fish oil every day. But even Dr. Lok in this study said people with previous heart attack or stroke are always more likely to have another one. But this study proved that patients who took fish oil reversed their risk back to the same as people who never had a heart attack or a stroke. How phenomenal is that? This is huge. You don't see studies like this for natural remedies that often. People who have had a previous heart attack or stroke are much, much higher risk to have another heart attack or another stroke. But if those people who have had a heart attack or a stroke started taking a high dose of fish oil, their risk for having another heart attack or stroke was now the same as someone who had never had a heart attack or stroke. So that is huge. That's a really exciting study about the benefits of fish oil. And the interesting thing about that is it was in a study actually looking at ways to help people that have kidney failure requiring dialysis. So over 3.8 million people have kidney failure requiring dialysis, and patients on dialysis have a hugely increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular death in patients on dialysis is 20 times that of the normal population. And as importantly, the liver and the kidneys are the main organs of your body that flush out drugs. Drugs have some beneficial effects, are necessary oftentimes. Best to avoid them if you can. But whenever you're taking them, you have to flush them out of your body. They're automatically flushed out of your body, mainly by the liver and the kidneys. And there's a whole host of drugs that are important for preventing cardiovascular disease that people on dialysis can't take because it puts too much stress on their chronically damaged kidneys. So this is really exciting. I think it's exciting. I recommend this to everybody, but it's especially exciting to know that more doctors are going to see this study now and start recommending to all of their patients, especially patients that already have kidney disease, or hopefully even those that are at risk of it, certainly all diabetics. These people should be taking fish oil. Eicosapentaenoic acid, EPA, and docosahexaenoic acid, DHA. EPA and DHA are the active components of omega-3 fatty acids you can only get from the ocean, and they have antithrombotic, meaning anti-plaque forming, anti-inflammatory, and anti-arrhythmitic properties, meaning they reduce your risk of a cardiac arrhythmia like atrial fibrillation. And these are all helpful in the physiology of preventing cardiovascular disease, especially in patients on dialysis. The National Kidney Foundation recommends that dialysis patients eat fresh fish twice a week. But beyond that, nothing. They don't say anything about should you take fish oil supplements or not. So they're way behind the curve. Hopefully this study will change the standard recommendations the National Kidney Foundation recommends for patients on dialysis. But authors of this study, Finian McLaughlin of Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston and David Cheriton, MD of New York University Grossman School of Medicine, are saying that physicians really should start considering recommending fish oil for patients on dialysis. Well, that sounds like a great idea to me. I'm Dr. Todd Binkley. You're listening to Safe, Effective, Natural Solutions to Any Health Challenge. I've created this show to provide you with the latest research into ways you can use natural methods to reduce your risk of a whole host of diseases to heal yourself using things like better food, exercise, and supplements. Well, this requires ordering more tests than most doctors order and doing a more progressive analysis of those tests. This is the definition of functional medicine, identifying places where normal function is lost and restoring normal function with better food, exercise, and supplements. So in addition to screening for full-blown disease, we're also looking for places where normal health, normal physiological function has been lost. Where do your kidneys and liver and digestive and immune systems need a little support? How do you know? The only way to know is to test. How is the health of your gut microbiome? If you have gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, it's probably not great. If you have an autoimmune condition, a lot of people don't realize this. If you have an autoimmune condition where your body is overproducing antibodies that are attacking healthy tissue, there's a good chance that that has its origins in a lack of healthy bacteria, healthy balance of bacteria in your gut. Maybe your hormones are a little bit out of balance and need some support. Maybe you've been exposed to mold or chemical or heavy metal toxins that are putting a constant strain on your nervous system and your immune system. All these types of toxins, arsenic, lead, cadmium, uranium, chemical toxins from pesticides and fertilizers, the toxins that are produced by mold. The mold itself is not the problem. It's not. We're not talking about a lung infection or irritated sinuses from breathing in the mold, but rather chronic exposure, long-term exposure to this. You don't even see it. When you move out of your apartment or your house, you find the mold is on the wall behind a stack of boxes or in a north-facing wall in your closets where there's no air movement and no light. That mold that you're even breathing in just tiny amounts of over months and years, they produce metabolic waste. Basically, the mold is a chemical toxin, very similar to the toxins that are in chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and your body flushes those things out as best it can, but what it can't flush out gets stored in fat cells, and that buildup of toxins your brain and your nervous system, but especially the brain, is the most sensitive organ in the body to any kind of toxic exposure. And these same toxins also put a constant strain on your immune system, which is why rashes, brain fog, fatigue, and a whole host of other symptoms that oftentimes, nobody else can figure out. You've been to several doctors, no one can figure out what the cause is of your fatigue, your rash, your brain fog. Similar symptoms like that are very often the cause of a buildup of toxins in your body. So we can identify these things with proper testing and then come up with a solution that mainly involves better food, exercise, and evidence-based supplements that can make all the difference. That can make you feel like a whole new person again. That will create such an amazing difference that sometimes people say, it's a miracle, which just means something really fantastic has happened. I'm not sure exactly why. Well, there are ways to identify why as well, but it's fine. As long as you think it's a miracle, that's okay too. Who do you know who isn't feeling great? Who's been to other doctors and been told that there's nothing that can be done? Maybe they've even been told that there's nothing wrong with them, but still they don't feel right. And so if you don't feel right, there is something wrong. You just haven't figured out what yet. Well, I'm here to help. I'd appreciate an opportunity to help someone you love who needs a little support, who is ready to finally find out what's causing them to not feel the way they should. It's a great gift, a great Christmas gift, a consultation to get someone started on a healthier path. You give this as a Christmas gift, and it'll take them through the new year on doing things that'll perhaps change their life forever. I'd love an opportunity to do that for someone you love. Next up in health-related news you need to know about, an article titled AI, Artificial Intelligence, Draws Even with Clinicians for Diabetes Prevention Intervention. So this is published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, an AI, an artificial intelligence-powered lifestyle intervention program versus human coaching in a program to help prevent diabetes. So there are a lot of people out there who are at risk to develop type 2 diabetes. 460 million adults worldwide have prediabetes, about 20 to 50% of whom are projected to develop full-blown diabetes within 5 years. So there's an effective diabetes prevention program that's demonstrated a 58% risk reduction over 3 years in people with prediabetes. But the CDC it's administered by the CDC in the U.S., but they only have about one program for every 63,000 adults with prediabetes, and only about 35% of those even referred to this program ultimately participate. So here's a study where they randomized 368 participants, a small study, 368 participants to receive either this standard live human coach-based program to prevent diabetes, and compared that to a referral to an artificial intelligence program. And the primary outcome was maintaining a hemoglobin A1C. That's the blood test that measures your average glucose over 3 months versus just a 1 day's reading that's constantly going up and down. So an A1C less than 6.5%, that's the cutoff for the diagnosis of diabetes, throughout the study, and an achievement of at least 5% weight loss, or at least 4% weight loss, plus at least 150 minutes of weekly physical activity, which they assessed objectively, or an absolute reduction in the blood test, the hemoglobin A1C, of at least 0.2 percentage points. So that sounds a little bit technical, but it's just sort of 3 different ways to try and figure out exactly what's happening, either directly reducing the A1C below diagnostic level with some weight loss, or getting someone to feel so good that they lose 4% of their body weight and do at least 150 minutes of activity, or just simply reduce their A1C in a clinically significant way, 0.2 percentage points over 12 months. So they look at this in 2 groups over a 12-month period, and what they found was that the AI-led intervention and the human-led intervention were essentially the same. Well, this is fantastic because people need this. So many people could benefit from this, and it's just difficult to get. So the AI intervention was a kit with a Bluetooth scale. It told how to register an app, and the app delivered personal notifications pushed to you about your weight management and physical activity and nutrition, informed by the data it got from the weight and meals that the patients logged in, but also where their location was and how much they're moving. So, for example, you might be walking, one of these patients might be walking on a sidewalk and get a message that says, "Hey, your gym is nearby and it's been a few days. 30 minutes is all it takes to boost your energy and progress. Are you ready to jump back in?" So that, this is a way that an app like this could do something similar to what a professional coach would do. Another example would be, another one says, "Hi, it's rainy days make it tough, but 10 minutes of movement still counts. You have a short break between meetings now because you've given it your schedule. Let's try some indoor stretching." So these are just prompts that motivate you to keep on schedule, to set your goals, and maintain them. It is always great to get a live human coach to do something like this if you're struggling to motivate yourself to do it on your own. But this study is showing that just getting a well-designed app on your phone, plugging in some data, and letting it remind you to do these things can have tremendous benefits. And the study also showed that people chose, 10% more people, 94% versus 84%, chose the app versus the human coach and got the results they needed. Well, if someone you love is not going to do either one of those things, I've helped thousands of people reverse diabetes by doing diagnostic tests and explaining to them the way that the prediabetes, for example, is affecting many other parts of their body, and showing them results and motivating them to do something different and giving them a safe, effective, natural solution to do that. And I'll be talking about that in the live presentation in my office that I'm doing the first Wednesday of every month now in downtown Ventura, 961 East Main Street, 6 p.m. January 7th is going to be on reducing risk and reversing diabetes, how you can lower blood sugar, reduce your risk of heart attack, stroke, and get more energy and lose weight and feel amazing without drugs. I'll be doing a 30-minute keynote presentation. We'll have some light refreshments and plenty of time after for questions and answers. So I hope you can join us for that. Space is limited. To reserve your seat, text and RSVP to 805-612-5531. 805-612-5531. I'd love to see you there, meet you in person, answer all of your questions. As always, thank you for tuning in. Have a fantastic weekend.
You've been listening to Safe, Effective Natural Solutions with Dr. Todd Binkley. If you have a health question you want discussed on the show, email your health questions to Dr. Binkley at binkleyhealingcenter.com. Take advantage of this opportunity to ask questions for yourself and for your loved ones, because our health matters. Join him next Friday at 2 p.m. for Safe, Effective Natural Solutions here on 98.3 FM, The Word.